Good morning, guys. It's 9:44, so I'll just give people a minute or so to come on in. In the meantime, I've got my blanket and my block set up over here, so feel free to grab yourself a blanket or a pillow. Feel free to grab a block. If you don't have a block, book will do just fine. We're going to start seated, so I invite you to take your blanket or your pillow and make a little rest for yourself, a little nest or so, right? Just to prop your hips up and kind of ease into our practice today. So I'm just gonna do that here for myself while we're getting ready. And we're just moving into 9:45 now, so we'll find our comfortable seat. We're going to start with a little breath work today. With the start of the new year, I kind of thought it would be nice to, start from the ground up and kind of focus on our foundation and focus on rooting ourselves into the ground. And so I wanted to start by focusing in a little bit on our root chakra, so the Muladhara, or root chakra. And that root chakra, this is Sunny Day for those of you that don't know him. Oh, and I'm Maria for those of you that are new joining me today. So our root chakra, is located right at the base of the pelvis, and the color is, you can kind of imagine a red orb. So we're going to start by sitting cross-legged. You can close your eyes if you feel comfortable, or if you're not quite there, you can just soften your gaze and send your gaze out past your nose. Just take a couple breaths to arrive. You can kind of imagine that red orb swirling. And we're starting seated today just so that we feel the earth underneath us. We feel grounded. That root chakra is the chakra that allows us to feel grounded, it allows us to feel rooted. Common mantra that's associated with it is so hum. So you can even breathe in and imagine the word so, and on the exhale, hum. And if you're practicing on your own as well, you're more than welcome to vocalize so on the inhale and hum on the exhale. And that refers to I am. So starting this new year, I thought it might be nice to contemplate for just a couple of moments here the meaning of that, the I am. Right? And think about right at this moment, what would you add to that phrase? And I don't want to add words for you, but just take a few moments to think about where you're at, where you find yourself right at this moment. And I've heard a lot of people talking about how the hardships of 2020, and I know everybody lived that year differently. So how has that affected you moving into this new year? And And maybe you can take that moving forward, right? Yoga is a practice and it's going to evolve every time you step on the mat, and it'll evolve and change. But it's kind of a nice thought to come back to every so often and just check in with yourself and where are you at? How are you feeling? When you're feeling a little frazzled or anxious, or just breathing and feeling yourself rooted into the ground can be so grounding. It can really center you, right? So with that thought, we'll take a deep breath in all together through the nose and exhale it out through the mouth. Make it an audible breath through the mouth, a big release. Inhaling in through the nose and out through the mouth. And one more all together on this New Year practice. Beautiful. So we're going to make our way onto hands and knees. So you can set your blanket off to the side. And we're going to start with a couple of cat-cows just to warm up the spine, right? That channel that all of the chakras kind of run up and down. All the energy meridians, the centers, all of that runs up and down the spine. Such an important part of our body. So you're going to place your hands directly underneath your shoulders and your knees directly underneath the hips. And again, to kind of continue with that grounding theme, I want you to think about pressing the shoelace side of your foot firmly into the ground. Think about rooting the shoelace side of your foot into the ground. And on the inhale, we're going to start to drop the belly down toward the mat and send our gaze slightly out in front of our mat. We're going to pause here for just a moment. Now in this position, think about drawing the hands in toward the knees. Now they're not going to move, but you want to have that intention of bringing the knees and hands toward the center line so that you're really engaging. And on your next exhale, we're going to reverse that movement and draw the chest up toward the ceiling. And in opposition, a lot of yoga deals with opposition. In opposition, we're going to press the hands and the knees away from each other. So the knees are going to move, or the intention is going to be to press them down toward the bottom of the mat and the hands toward the top of the mat so that we really move into that stretch and the spine really curls into cat pose. And on the inhale, moving a little quicker this time, dropping the belly and arriving there just as you crest the inhale, and then exhaling into cat pose. Inhaling into cow pose, and then moving into cat pose on your exhale. And I'm going to let you move through, let's say 3 to 5 of these on your own time. So if you find a spot that you'd like to linger in, by all means, please feel free to linger in that spot. If you find a spot that is, talking to you, feel free to work out those kinks. You take this time for you. This is time you've carved out for yourself. It's so important to take some time to fill your cup, right? Because if you fill your cup, then you'll have something to give the rest of the world, right? Because oftentimes we just give, and we don't even think about filling our own cup. So it's so important to arrive on the mat and take time for yourself. Good, so I'm guessing you're probably around there now. So returning back to our flat back position. Think about tucking the chin ever so slightly, just so you elongate through the back of the neck, right? We're not crunching or anything like that. And on our next exhale, we're going to curl the right toes underneath and just slide the toes toward the back of the mat. I'm not sure if you can see me very well here, so I'm just going to turn around just a little bit. And I'm going to invite you to just lean forward and back, seesaw through the toes, through that back leg a little bit, just to stretch out through the fascia of the foot, stretch into the calf muscle. Breathe deeply, right? You move at your own pace. You do you. And once you've had enough of that, we're going to draw the right knee in on the exhale into the nose. So trying to kind of wake up those abdominal muscles, and then bringing that knee all the way through to in between the hands. And we're going to move into our pigeon posture. Now, again, thinking about our foundations, grounding. A lot of times what we tend to do in order to get ourselves further into this posture is we lean ourselves over to the right hand side in order to ground that right hip. But what I'm going to ask you to do is keep yourself centered. Keep your pelvis, your head over your heart over your pelvis. Think about externally rotating that right leg. Almost the intention is to externally rotate that right leg so that the hips turn themselves to face square at the front of the mat. Now, there's no need for you to feel like you need to bring your foot further forward. There's no need for that shin to be parallel to the front of the mat. So you can keep your foot nice and tucked in by the pelvis if you need. If this isn't nice for you, or if your knee is talking to you, go ahead and grab that blanket and just tuck it underneath that right sit bone. Okay, so that you got a little bit of support here. It's all about feeling comfortable, meeting your appropriate edge, but feeling supported here. Now again, that left foot, you're pressing the shoelace side of the foot into the ground. The heel is pointing up toward the ceiling. And if you're good here, work from this position. Meet your appropriate edge. Think about tucking the chin in, lengthening through the back of the neck, almost like there's a little string at the top, at the crown of the head, just pulling you up. If you want to move further into the pose, you can start walking your hands forward, and you can rest on the forearms. I'll just move myself back so you guys can see me a bit more. Or you can continue walking down and rest your hands. You can put your hands one on top of the other and rest your forehead on your hands. Now from this position here, what I want you to think about is drawing the armpit chest down the length of the side body so that the shoulders move away from the ears. So you're pulling the armpit chest down the length of the side body on the inhale, and on the exhale, you're taking a little bit of weight on those lower ribs and pulling them down and toward the back of the spine. Okay. We're going to be here for another 3 breaths. So you're trying to let yourself relax into the posture with every exhale. And if you find that you're not feeling any sort of sensation anymore, then you can move further into the posture. But there should be no pain. And at the end of our 3rd breath, we're going to reverse where we came from and come back up, head over heart, heart over pelvis. On the inhale, we're going to slowly, moving mindfully, come out of our pigeon posture. And I'm going to just have us go into our down dog for one moment, just as a little bit of a counter pose. So curl the toes under and draw the hips up toward the ceiling. And we're just going to walk our dog. So bending through one foot and then the other. Just bringing a little bit of motion back into those legs. Beautiful. And on our next exhale, bending the knees generously and lowering them all the way down to the ground. Second side. So again, check your foundation. Make sure your hands are underneath your shoulders. Bending those left toes and sliding the left foot toward the back of the mat. We're going to seesaw front to back a little bit, Working through that left calf, working through the left foot a little bit, waking up that left side. And then on your next exhale, inhale, find stillness. And on the exhale, drawing the left knee to the nose, waking up the abdominals slowly and gently, and then bringing the left knee in between the hands. You might have to slide that right foot back just slightly. Again, think about externally rotating that left hip or that left leg so that it squares the hips up. It draws that left hip back into space, firmly planting the shoelace side of the right foot into the mat so that you're nice and grounded, right? You're stable in your foundation. And from here, you can grab, this side might be different, so you can grab your blanket and tuck it in underneath if you need a little bit of support here. Otherwise, we're going to move into the posture, taking a deep inhale here, and on the exhale, you can walk your hands forward and start your downward journey. Now, if you're happy sitting up high, head over heart, heart over pelvis, please feel free to stay there. And regardless of where you find yourself on this side, think about on the next inhale, drawing the armpit chest down the length of the side body, broadening through the collarbones. And on the exhale, tagging a little weight on those lower ribs, pulling them down and toward the back of the spine and allowing yourself to melt into the posture. There's a spot on this side that's talking to you. Think about or imagine sending some breath to that area that's speaking to you, right? Figuratively, sending some breath there, sending your attention there, sending your focus there, and trying to relax into that spot on every exhale. We're going to be here for another 3 breaths, so breathe deeply. There's no rush. Feeling your belly grow with every inhale. And collapse with every exhale. And feeling those ribs expand on every inhale. And drop on every exhale. Taking another breath here. And on our next inhale, we'll look up and start to make our way up to the top. So walking the hands back toward the pelvis, lifting up and out of the hips. You can move your blanket off to the side if you had it under there. Planting, grounding your hands into the mat, slightly in front of your shoulders, tucking the toes underneath you and moving into your down dog on this side. Again, we're just going to take our dog for a little walk here. Now, even in this down dog position, think about drawing the armpit chest down the length of the side body on the inhale. Growing broad through the collarbones, and again on the exhale, tag a little weight on those lower ribs, pull them down and toward the back of the spine, because that's going to help you build your foundation from the ground up. Beautiful. And then coming to stillness. On your next inhale, we're going to bend the knees, look to the front of the mat, and we're going to baby step our way to the front. Baby steps all the way up to the front. There's no rush. Taking maybe 4 to 6 steps to come to meet at the front of the mat. Let your head hang heavy here. You can clasp opposite hand to opposite elbow if you like. Maybe nod the head yes, shake the head no. Feel free to have your knees bent here. There's no need to keep them nice and straight. It's a practice, right? We're doing us today. We're listening to our bodies today. Maybe you can bend one knee straighten through the other. Breathing deeply. And releasing the hands if they're clasped. Generously bending the knees. And on the next inhale, we're going to roll up 1 vertebrae at a time and come to our first Tadasana of the practice. Beautiful. When you arrive, feel free to close your eyes. You can soften your gaze and send it out in front of you. Maybe roll the shoulders a couple of times, forwards and then back. And then come to stillness. And then we're going to take a moment here again just to focus in on becoming grounded, becoming rooted, right? And so I want you to send your attention to the soles of your feet. And we often talk about, the four corners, planting our weight evenly distributed through the four corners of our feet. So think about the print of the big toe and the little toe, and evenly distributing your weight between the big toe and the little toe. And then send your attention to the heels, the outside and the inside of each heel. And think about evenly distributing your weight between those points as well. And from there, drawing energy up from the ground, right? So nourishing yourself, drawing energy from the ground up. Think about lifting the arches of the feet up, toning the quadriceps, lifting the knees up. Thinking about that root chakra again and engaging our mula bandha, so that root lock. Thinking about the hammock, right, between the legs and those muscles, engaging them, lifting them up into our center, almost like those, the Kegels that people always talk about. Engaging that root lock, growing tall through the core of the body, tucking the chin slightly, lengthening through the back of the neck, almost like there's a little string pulling you up toward the ceiling. Beautiful. Reaching your full height here. Head is over the heart is over the pelvis, right? This posture is our foundational posture for all of our standing postures. So even though it seems simple, there's so much happening in this one posture. Beautiful. Let's move. So swimming your fingertips up toward the ceiling on your inhale, palms kiss together, and on the exhale, slicing through the midline and coming back to our forward fold. We're going to slide the hands up to the tops of the thighs, tuck the elbows in, bring them in toward the midline. Inhale, grow long through the crown of the neck, bringing the heart over where the zipper of your pants would lie. And on the exhale, reversing and bringing the palms back to the mat. Planting the palms, stepping the right foot back, stepping the left foot back, and lowering the knees into our half plank. From here, we're going to externally rotate the arms so that the elbow creases are shining toward the front of the mat. And on the exhale, bending at the elbows and lowering all the way down to the mat. Planting the shoelace side of the feet on the mat. We're going to move the hands off, left and right, off to the sides of the mat. And we're going to tent our fingers like little tent pegs, or little spiders, I guess. And elbows are pointing up toward the ceiling at this point. On the inhale, I want you to think about drawing the armpit chest down the length of the side body, growing long through the crown of the head, and lifting the torso up and off the ground. And from here, we're going to externally rotate those arms so that the elbows are now pointing toward the back of the mat. Relaxing the glutes, so we're not powering through the glute muscles. Pressing through the shoelace side of the foot. And on the exhale, we'll release. We're going to do that two more times. So on the inhale, think about drawing the armpit chest down the length of the side body, growing long through the crown of the head, externally rotating the arms so that the elbows point toward the back of the mat, tucking the chin slightly so that we're elongating through the back of the neck, and exhaling, we release. We'll do that one more time, working at your own pace. Inhaling to grow long into our cobra, and exhaling to release. Beautiful. Bringing the hands back underneath the shoulders, curling the toes under, tucking the elbows in, Inhaling, we come up to our tabletop position. Exhale, we move into our downward dog. You can take a moment here to pedal the feet out if you like. And then come to stillness. On the inhale, we're going to look toward the front of the mat. Step the right foot behind the right hand, left foot behind the left hand. Grow long into our flat back. Hands will come to the shins this time. Exhale, release. Bending at the knees, inhaling all the way up to our Tadasana, floating the fingertips up toward the ceiling, and exhaling, hands on Juli Mudra at the heart. On the inhale, float the fingertips back up toward the sky, and slicing through the midline on the exhale, we fold. Bringing the hands to the shins, tucking the elbows in, growing long through the crown of the head on the inhale, and on the exhale, we release, plant the palms, step the left foot back this time, step the right foot back this time. Again, bringing the knees to the ground. If you want to work in full plank, please do. Externally rotating the arms, bending at the elbows, and exhaling all the way down to the mat. So this time we're going to swim our hands back toward the hips. Palms of the hands are face down here. Head is, or chin, I guess, is on the mat. We're going to use that same image of drawing the shoulders or the armpit chest down the length of the side body, and we're going to move into our locust pose. So on the inhale, drawing the armpit chest down the length of the side body, inhaling, growing long through the crown of the head. Now it's a smaller lift, but we're not forcing or anything here. We're just meeting our appropriate edge here. Noticing how the torso lifts and lowers with every inhale and every exhale. Relaxing the glute muscles, pressing into the shoelace side of the foot. On your next inhale, if you'd like, you can float the hands up off the ground. And on the next inhale, you can zip the legs up through the midline and lift them up off the ground. Reaching full locust. Meeting your appropriate edge. Waking up the muscles of the spine. We're going to be here for 2 breath cycles. Breathing deeply, noticing how the body lifts and lowers with every inhale and exhale. And on your next exhale, we're releasing all the way down. Bringing the hands, bending at the knees, bringing the toes up to point toward the ceiling. You can drop your right ear or your left ear toward the mat. And we're just going to let the feet swing gently side to side, working that back out a little bit. Beautiful. Bringing the feet back, shoelace side of the foot onto the mat, hands underneath the shoulders, curl the toes under, inhale back to flat back or into plank if you'd like. Up into tabletop or plank if you'd like. And then exhaling and work your way into your down dog. Take 1 breath here, deep inhale, and exhale out through the nose or the mouth. And on your next inhale, looking toward the front of the mat, stepping the left foot toward behind the left hand, right foot behind the right hand. Inhaling to your flat back. Hands can be on the shins. And exhaling, we release. Bending at the knees, inhaling, growing tall into your Tadasana. Float the fingertips up and overhead. Palms kiss together. Exhale, coming all the way back down to our forward fold. This time inhaling, maybe keep the fingertips on the mat. Exhale, we release. From here, plant the palms, step the left foot back, step the right foot back, and externally rotate those arms, lower all the way to the mat on the exhale. We're going to work through our locust one more time, a little bit quicker this time. So swimming the hands back toward the hips, palms face down on the inhale, drawing the shoulders down, growing long through the crown of the head, lifting the torso, the chest up off the mat. On the next inhale, lifting the hands up off the mat, if that's in your practice today. And maybe on the next inhale, lifting the feet up off the mat into your full locust. So you're working at your appropriate edge here. Working through the muscles of the back, gently growing the posture with every inhale and every exhale. One more breath here. And on the exhale, release. If you lowered your right ear to the mat, maybe lower your left this time. Bending at the knees, sending the feet up toward the ceiling, and just letting them flip-flop from one side to the other. Beautiful, guys. Bringing the feet shoelace side back onto the mat. Hands come underneath the shoulders. On the inhale, working into your tabletop position or into your full plank. On the exhale, moving into your down dog. Take a breath here. Side out through the mouth. And on your next inhale, bending at the knees, you can hop or step your way to the front of the mat. Inhale into your version of flat back. Exhale, we release. From here, we're going to bring the feet together, really together. Bend generously at the knees. And on the inhale, we're going to move into our Utkatasana, our chair pose. So inhale, float the fingertips up, keep the sit bones pointing down, lengthening through the crown of the head. Tuck that chin in slightly so you elongate through the back of the neck. You can see out of your peripheral vision, you should be able to see your forearms. Even in this posture, think about dropping the armpit chest down, the length of the side body on the inhale, growing broad through the collarbones. On the exhale, tag some weight down on those lower ribs, pull them down and toward the back of the spine. Here for one more breath. I know your legs are talking to you. And on the exhale, releasing back into our forward fold, straighten the legs. Breathe here, one full inhale and exhale. And bending at the knees, rolling all the way up on the inhale to our Tadasana. Floating the fingertips up and overhead, palms kiss together, and they come to the chest in prayer position. Take one breath here. We're going to lower our hands to our hips this time. Stepping your foot back into your warrior one posture. So a little bit of a shorter stance than you would have with your warrior two. Feet are on two parallel lines. So have a look at your back foot and your front foot. Make sure the back foot is not tracking right behind the front foot. It's just slightly off to the left here. Think about internally rotating that left leg so that the left hip squares itself up and it draws that right hip back. So both hip creases are pointing toward the front of the mat. The left sole of the left foot is firmly planted on the mat. Toes are pointing toward the front-ish, right? So they're slightly angled. The left knee is tracking the left toes. Putting a little bend into that right knee. Right knee is tracking the right toes. And even in this posture, you want to think your head is over your heart is over your pelvis. Inhaling, bring the hands up and overhead like we did in our chair posture almost. Head is over the heart is over the pelvis, drawing the armpit chest down the length of the side body. In this posture, your pelvis is going to be just slightly, or the zipper line of your pants, if you imagine it that way, it's going to be just slightly higher than that right knee. From here, palms kiss together. Exhale, bringing them down to the heart, and we're going to move into our twist. So moving the outside of the left elbow toward the outside of the right leg. Now the tendency here is for us to crank into this twist. I want us to avoid doing that. So what we're going to think about is on the inhale, from this position, if you want to have a look at me, grow long through the crown of the head, elongate through the spine. Head is in line with the heart. Heart is in line with the hips. Hips are in line with the legs, right? So we're with the left leg. We're forming one long line from the mat all the way to the crown of the head. From here, on the exhale, we're going to start to one vertebrae at a time, open up toward the right side of the mat. We're not placing any undue stress on the hands so that we don't end up with wrist problems. And we're going to hold this posture here for about 3 to 4 breaths. With every exhale, I want you to think about, I'm going to move here so you guys can see a little bit better. I want you to think about, with every exhale, opening into the twist. So we don't have to get into the full twist right off the bat. It's going to grow with every exhale. Maybe you send your gaze up past that right shoulder toward the ceiling, but you're moving and meeting your appropriate edge. Beautiful. Nicely done, guys. Think about drawing those armpit chests down the length of the side body. On the inhale, grow broad through the collarbones. And on your next exhale, we're going to lower the hands to the mat. Beautiful. From here, bringing the left foot onto the ball of the left foot. So coming up and off of the foot into our high lunge. Now, if you want to work in low lunge, if that's where you're at today, feel free. We're going to swim that right hand in to the inside of the right foot, and we're going to move into our extended side angle posture from here. Now, if on the inhale, bring that left hand onto your left hip. If you're feeling like this is already a little too pretzel-y for you, go ahead and grab your book or grab your block. You can place the block or the book on the inside of the right foot. If you need to, feel free to double up. If your left knee is down, double up on your mat to give yourself a little bit of extra padding. From here, you want to think about bringing the left shoulder in line over top, stacking the left shoulder on top of the right. And again, we've got, oh, and sorry, one thing, we're going to externally rotate that left leg so that the sole of the left foot comes back down onto the mat. Now, if you're good here, think about dropping the left fingertips down toward the mat and swinging them toward the front of the mat so that the bicep is within your peripheral vision here. And even in this posture, think on the inhale, drawing the armpit just down the length of the side body, growing broad through the collarbones. On the exhale, tag a little weight down on those lower ribs, pull them back toward the spine. We're going to be here for another 3 breaths. Think about when you start feeling sensation, it'll be just as quick to dissipate when we release the posture. 1 more breath here. And exhale, float those left fingertips back onto the mat. You can remove the block if you need to. Planting both palms, stepping the right foot back into your plank or your half plank. Moving through our first chaturanga or lowering all the way to the mat. Growing tall into cobra or rising all the way into your up dog. Curling the toes under, exhaling, moving into our downward facing dog. 1 deep breath in here and exhale it out through the mouth. On your next inhale, looking toward the front of the mat, and you can step or hop to the front of the mat, growing into your flat back, exhaling to release. Bending deeply through the knees, bringing the feet together, really together. Inhaling the arms up toward the ceiling, moving into our chair posture. Lovely. Think about drawing the armpit chest down the length of the side body here. On the inhale, on the exhale, tagging some weight on those lower ribs, pulling them down toward the back of the spine, being strong in our all of our abdominal muscles here. On your next exhale, maybe lowering the sit bones a little bit more. You should be able to see your toes over your knees. You're trying to work those knees back over top of the heels. And on the exhale, release all the way. Straighten through the legs for 1 breath. Sighing it out. Bending the knees slightly, inhaling, coming all the way up into our Tadasana. Float the fingertips up and overhead. In prayer position, exhale the hands down to the heart. Beautiful. Bringing the hands to the hips. We're going to step the right foot back into our warrior 1 posture this time. So feet are in 2 parallel lines here. Bending the left knee, tracking it over top those left toes. Make sure that the right toes are tracking the same, or the right knee is tracking the right toes, grounding firmly from the ground, pulling energy up through the midline, bringing the hands, inhaling them up and overhead into your warrior one, drawing the armpit chest down the length of the side body here, growing broad through the collarbones. On the exhale, tagging some weight on those lower ribs, pulling them down toward the back of the spine. Beautiful. Bringing the hands into prayer position, exhaling them down to heart. We'll move into our twist on the second side. So inhaling, growing long through the crown of the head, hinging at the hips, bringing the head slightly forward in front of the knee. And on the exhale, starting our twist, opening the chest up toward the left-hand side of the mat, bringing the outside of the right elbow to the outside of the left thigh. And with every exhale, I want you to think of growing in the posture. So you're not getting there right away on the first exhale into your complete twist, but with every exhale, you're moving further into the twist. Maybe sending the gaze up toward the ceiling, working to get that left shoulder over top of the right shoulder. We're not placing any sort of undue stress on the hands. We're not using that to force our way into the twist so that we don't hurt our wrists. Staying here for another 3 breath cycles. Digging deep, right? As soon as welcoming the shake, welcoming that fire. Still thinking about pulling energy up through the midline, engaging that root lock. Beautiful. And on your next exhale, bringing the hands down to the mat, coming into our high lunge, swimming the left hand in toward the inner left arch, planting the palms firmly here, externally rotating through that right leg so that the right foot plants, the sole of the right foot firmly plants into the ground like it was in our warrior one posture. Beautiful. If you need the block, bring it to the inside of the right or left leg, left foot. Place your hand over top of it. Inhale, bringing that right hand onto the right hip. Exhaling, opening the chest toward the right side of the mat. Working to bring the right shoulder over top of the left. Growing long through the spine. Tucking the chin ever so slightly, elongating through the back of the neck. If you're good here, feel free to stay here. If not, you can, on your next exhale, lower the right fingertips down toward the mat and then toward the front of the mat, bringing the right bicep right by the right ear. Beautiful. Taking another 3 breaths here. Seeing how the posture changes, seeing how it evolves with every breath. 1 more breath. And on your next exhale, lowering all the way down to the mat. Planting both palms, stepping the left foot back. Working through your vinyasa. So either lowering all the way to the mat or going to your chaturanga. Inhaling into your cobra or into your up dog. Curling the toes under, exhaling into our downward dog. Take a deep breath here, deep cleansing breath. Side out through the mouth. Lovely. And on your next exhale, lower the knees all the way down to the mat. We're going to find our way to our seated postures. So coming to your sit bones, you can feel free. Actually, one of the nice things to do is to bring your towel or your blanket and you can just tuck them underneath the sit bones. It'll just help if you think of your pelvis like a bowl of water. It'll help to tilt that pelvis forward just a little bit so you don't feel like you're curling through the spine quite so much. We're going to move into our Pavarita Janu Shirsasana. So we're going to send our left leg out toward the left corner of the mat. Toes are pointing up toward the ceiling, bending at the right knee, bringing that right knee in toward the pelvis, sitting up nice and tall through the spine, tucking the chin ever so slightly so that we elongate through the back of the neck. Now, we're gonna bring the forearm, the left forearm, down onto the mat. If that isn't in your body today, feel free to grab your block, place it on the inner side of the left leg, and then rest your forearm on your block. Now, if you don't have a block, you can feel free to rest your forearm on top of the left thigh. Or if you've got a little bit more range of motion, I suppose you could bring your left arm to the shin, but avoid that knee area. So working here with the forearm at your appropriate edge. On the inhale, we're going to gently press that right hand to the inside of the right thigh so that we ground the hips and we ground that right leg to the ground. Now, that doesn't mean you have to bring the leg flat on the ground. Don't force yourself. You're just, the intention is for you to ground through that right leg and grow long through the crown of the head, tilting on the exhale toward your left leg. So you're opening the chest toward the front of the mat, spiraling that right shoulder forward, up, and back. You want to kind of imagine the intention is to open the heart up toward the sky while maintaining a kind of a long line through the crown of the head all the way down through the spine. So we're not letting the head just kind of fall here. We're growing long through the crown of the head. And you can do that by thinking about inhaling the armpit chest down the length of the side body so that it draws those shoulders down. Now, if you're finding this slightly uncomfortable, you can also think about placing the elbow on top of that left thigh and just gently resting your head on the left fingertips so that you have a little bit of a support here for the head, which can be quite nice as well. Another option, if you want to move further into this pose, you can swim the right fingertips behind the back, clasping the right hand around the outside of the left hip if you want to bind. That'll help you open up through the chest as well. Beautiful. We're here for another 3 breaths. Seeing how the posture evolves with each breath. Making sure that the left toes are still pointing up toward the ceiling. We're not forcing our way into the posture, we're just letting it evolve. Take another breath here. Beautiful. And on your next inhale, we'll release the bind and bring the head back over the heart back over the pelvis. Lovely. We're going to bend through that left knee. We're going to bring the sole of the left foot onto the mat and swim it around to the outside of the right thigh. And we're going to move into our seated twist. So here again, we want to feel like we're firmly planted, like both sit bones are firmly planted on the mat. On the inhale, we're going to tuck our chin round through the spine and then grow tall through the crown of the head, elongating through the back of the neck. On the exhale, swimming the right hand around the left knee, giving yourself a hug, and moving into your twist, opening the heart up toward the left side. You can swim those left fingertips behind you. Now we're not leaning into that left hand. We're not using it like a brace or anything. We're just gently placing the fingertips. There's no weight on the fingertips there. And again, seeing how the posture evolves. With every exhale, we're trying to move a little further into the twist. Maybe you send your gaze back toward the same direction where the left fingertips are pointing. Think about drawing the armpit chest down the length of the side body on the inhale, spiraling the shoulders toward the back of the mat. Growing tall. We're here for another 3 breaths. You should be feeling this stretch And on the outside of the glutes. Beautiful. One more breath here. And on your next exhale, we release. Lovely. So we're going to move into our Pavarita Janu Shirsasana on the right side. So extending the right leg toward the corner of the right mat, I suppose, of the mat on the right side. Bending the left knee, bringing the heel toward the hips or toward the pubic bone. Think about grounding through the sit bones, sitting head over heart, heart over pelvis here. Now this side may be different for you, right? So again, we're going to bring the forearm of the right hand toward the inside of that right leg. On the inhale, grow tall through the spine. And on the exhale, gently pressing on the inner right thigh. It's not a real push, but just an intention. And moving into our fold, our twisted fold. Thinking about spiraling the left shoulder forward, up and back, opening the heart up toward the ceiling. Drawing the armpit chest down the length of the side body to bring the shoulders away from the ears. Right toes are pointed toward the ceiling. If you want to move further into the twist, you can swim the left fingertips behind the back, clasping them to the outside of the right hip. Here for another 3 breaths. Noticing how this posture evolves with every exhale, right? We're moving into the posture on every exhale. The head is feeling a little touchy here. Maybe bringing that right elbow on top of the right thigh and allowing the head to rest gently on those right fingertips. Beautiful. One more breath here. Lovely. And on your next inhale, unwinding and growing tall. We're going to place a little bend in that right knee. Swimming the right foot around so that the outside of the right foot meets the outside of the left thigh. Planting the sole of the left foot firmly into the mat. Sit bones are firmly rooted to the mat. On the inhale, curling through the spine and rolling up so that we're nice and tall, head over heart, heart over pelvis. Exhaling, giving yourself a little hug, giving your right knee a little hug with the left arm. And moving into our twist, opening the chest toward the right side. Maybe swimming those right fingertips toward the back of the mat. Maybe you send your gaze toward the back of the mat as well. We're drawing the armpit chest down the length of the side body. Dropping those shoulders away from the ears. Breathing into the belly here. We're here for another 3 breaths. Beautiful. And unwinding. Lovely. I'm going to swim the legs around, planting both feet firmly on the mat. Knees are pointing toward the ceiling. And we're going to make our way all the way down to our flat back. So clasping the backs of the legs and helping yourself roll 1 vertebrae at a time all the way down onto the mat. Now keeping the knees pointing up toward the ceiling, we're going to walk the feet so that they're directly, the ankles are directly underneath the knees. Heels are in line with your pelvis, so they're hip width apart. You're going to plant your hands right beside your hips, palms face down, snuggle the shoulder blades underneath your chest, and we're going to move into our little bridge pose. Now, if you're comfortable with full wheel and you want to work with that, feel free to move into that. I'm going to lead little bridge for us. We're going to work to keep our legs, our knees pointing up toward the ceiling. So if you look at your legs right now, they should be 2 parallel lines. You want to keep those parallel lines parallel, right? So from here, pressing, rooting firmly into the ground with the soles of the feet and the palms of the hands. We're gonna curl on the inhale, curl the pelvis up toward the chin, and that's gonna start to lift the pelvis up off the mat. We're gonna roll through the spine, one vertebrae at a time, moving into the chest, lifting the chest up off the mat. Working the hips toward the sky. Think about pushing down into the feet and forward toward the bottom of the mat. That'll help get the pelvis just slightly higher. Once you reach your appropriate max, from there, gently press on the back of the head where the back of a ball cap might sit. Gently press into the mat with that one spot on your head so that you open a little space between the chin and the chest. Breathing deeply. We're here for another 2 breaths. You can do it. Breathe deeply. One more breath. And on your next exhale, we're going to roll the chest one vertebrae at a time back onto the mat, and then the hips onto the mat. Beautiful. We'll work through one more of those. So on the inhale, curling the pelvis up toward the chin, lifting the hips up off the ground, moving through the spine, lifting the chest up off the ground. If you find this a little challenging, you can always grab with the hands, grab the mat as well. Feel free to take a bind here. You can snuggle the shoulder blades underneath the chest, walk the hands toward each other. One more breath here. And we release all the way to the mat. Beautiful. From here, bringing the soles of the feet together, we're going to drop the knees toward the mat, opening up in our Supta Baddha Konasana, our reclined cobblers. Maybe bring the hands to the belly, relaxing through the hips, letting the knees hang heavy. Another breath here. And then bringing your hands to the outer thighs and helping your legs or your knees back up. Beautiful. Bring the knees toward the chest. Give yourself a hug. Maybe you can draw the nose up to the knees if it's in your practice today. Lovely. Allowing the soles of the feet to come back onto the mat. We're going to let the knees drop to the left-hand side. Hands can outstretch in a big T. Right ear can move onto the mat into a twist. Taking a couple deep breaths here. Lovely. And inhaling, coming back up through center, and exhaling, letting the knees drop toward the right. Maybe sending the left ear toward the mat. Taking a couple deep belly breaths here, maybe closing the eyes. Beautiful. Inhaling, bring the knees up to center. Give yourself one last hug here. Take whatever other movements you feel like you might need before we move into our Shavasana. Maybe you can rock a little side to side here, massaging the pelvis a little bit. And then slowly walking the feet toward the bottom of the mat. Now feel free to grab your blanket if you like and roll it up and place it underneath the knees. You can put your hands wherever they just naturally feel comfortable. They could be on your belly. You could have them outstretched. Palms face up or down, whatever works for you. Finding your comfortable lying posture. Taking a few moments to arrive here, get your yourself all those little movements you need to do in order to find stillness for a while. Get those out of the way. Once you've found that resting posture, take a moment to do a quick body scan. Notice any places you might be gripping and try to let them just relax. Let your tongue hang heavy in your mouth. And if you let your face just relax, it tends to have a trickle effect, and it just allows everything to let go. And once you've relaxed everything into the mat, take a couple deep breaths, not forcing them, just noticing the inhale, noticing the exhale. Maybe going back to that so hum mantra. So on the inhale, hum on the exhale. I'm going to quiet down here for just a minute or so. So as we move to close our practice up, I like to close with just a short reading, leave you with a short reading for the week. So moving into a new year, I talked a lot about feeling grounded, about feeling energies, right? I want to leave you with this short reading called Positivity Pledge. And like always, take what you need, leave what you don't. And it says, I shall no longer allow negative thoughts or feelings to drain me of my energy. Instead, I shall focus on all the good that is in my life. I will think it, feel it, and speak it. By doing so, I will send out vibes of positive energy into the world, and I shall be grateful for all the wonderful things it will attract into my life. So with that, you're welcome to linger here in Shavasana for a while longer if you've got the time. Otherwise, I invite you to bring some movement back into your fingers and toes. Bring some movement into the ankles and the wrists. Maybe open your mouth wide and then scrunch your face nice and tight and release. Swim the fingertips up and overhead in a good morning stretch. And slowly make your way onto one side or the other. And come back up to seated. Just take a moment here. Let your hands rest where they naturally do. Whatever feels comfortable. We'll take a moment here to take a couple breaths together as a group before we close our practice. So breathing in deeply through the nose and letting it out through the mouth. Breathing in deeply through the nose and exhaling it out through the mouth. And on this last inhale, bring the hands in prayer up in front of your chest. And on the exhale, I invite you to drop your chin toward the fingertips and whisper Namaste. So thank you for joining me today. I hope I hope you enjoyed the practice. And we'll see you all soon. I wish you a wonderful week, a wonderful rest of your day. If you just joined us now, this will be up on IGTV afterwards, so feel free to do the practice then. Take care and have a great day.